So you're interested in small leather goods, but you want just a simple snap-on case for your iPhone 5 or 5S. What are your options? In this video, I'm going to be taking a look at 4 different cases, all around the price range of the Apple iPhone case. To me, the question is simple: which cases are designed the best, and which ones are made out of the best materials? How they fit on the iPhone should be pretty straightforward, but it requires knowledge of some basic facts about leather and how it's produced. So while I will be going through each of these phones individually, please keep some of the general distinctions I'll be making in mind. After I cover a few basic distinctions about how leather is made, I'll be going through each of the cases here. First, I'll take a look at what I consider the benchmark case for this comparison, the Apple iPhone case. After that, I'll take a look at the Timberland harness leather case. A third interesting option is the J.Crew iPhone case. Lastly, I'll be looking at the Waxhaws case. In this video, I stick with simple snap-on leather cases. There are a few that didn't make the cut for this video, and I'll describe why at the end. 2 key elements to appreciating leather goods are an understanding of the tanning process and a grasp of the grades of leather quality. An animal skin is brought into a tannery where it's processed into leather. Now, the tanning process is complex and there are many varieties of tanning available. So in this video, I'm only going to be discussing the tanning processes that are specific to each of these cases. However, the grades of leather quality are objective. Once an animal is slaughtered, the skin is brought into a tannery and separated into layers of skin, usually each layer being roughly the thickness of a coin. The outer layers of the skin are referred to as the full and top grains, and the lower layers of skin are referred to as the split hides. In this comparison, all of the cases are either full grain leather or top grain leather. Take a guess which of these cases are the highest grades of leather. The best grade of hide is full grain. That refers to the top layer of leather which has not been sanded, buffed, or corrected in any way to remove imperfections on the surface of the hide. The result is the grains are retaining their full strength and their full texture. This is also going to allow the leather to develop the most personality over time, or patina. Top grain leather is the second highest quality of leather and is thinner. It has the split layer separated away, and it's more thin and pliable as a result. The surface has been sanded, which results in a colder and more plastic feel of the leather, and it's not going to develop patina in the same way that a full grain leather will. Up to bat first is the Apple iPhone case. Out of all of the cases in this comparison, this one has the most intricate case. The leather is shaped to cover the volume buttons, the on and off switch. It has an inner chamfered edge for the iPhone 5S, and it also has small holes for each of the speakers. The body might be crafted to perfection, but the natural habitat of this case, if I were to put it somewhere, would be in Staten Island, wearing fake tan, fake gold chains, some Eurotrash garb, and maybe doing the splits. To put it a little bit more concretely, the leather of this case is made of aniline leather. That's a fully dyed leather, often used in upholstery. Aniline leather is usually either full grain or top grain, and Apple doesn't specify. Given the very even texture and color of this case, as well as the fact that the leather is very thin and very tight on the case, I would not be surprised at all if this is just a top grain leather. The inside of the case is finished in a kind of suede leather, and it's stamped iPhone, designed by Apple in California, assembled in China, just like the phones. Apple describes its color as brown, but it's the saddest excuse for brown I've ever seen. It's tan and almost kind of orange. You'll be paying about 40 bucks for this Apple case at the store. It's retro, not in a good way, but in an awkward way, like your uncle's couch in the basement. Here's the Apple case on the iPhone. As you can see, the case very nicely borders the entire face of the phone. All of the shape buttons also work very well and don't require too much effort to manipulate above and beyond the phone being out of the case. On the bottom, it looks like it was designed by the same people who designed the phone, which is on the one hand very clean, but on the other hand, it's going to be a problem getting aftermarket accessories on here. Getting this phone out of the case too is an epic adventure. So while the design and the overall construction is solid, the actual appearance of the case made me look to other leathers. Next up is the Timberland harness leather phone case. If the Apple case is a washed out martial artist working for Volvo, then this case is an Indiana Jones impersonator. It has a handsome and rugged looking logo stamped on, as well as patina, which is obviously fake. The case has a more open and simple layout. The more open layout will actually enable more devices to be easily attached to this case, so that's not a strike against this case, even though it is less ornate. A major selling point for this case, according to Timberland, is that this is the eco-friendly case. The leather is from a Tannery rated gold by the Leather Working Group, which apparently rates leather manufacturers on their water, energy, and waste management. And the lining is a recycled plastic bottle lining, 100% PET. It has a nice rubber feel to it. Timberland describes the leather of this case as 100% cowhide harness leather. But what does that really mean? Harness leather is a reference to one of three types of saddlery leather: the bridle, the harness, and the saddle leather. Amongst those three types of leather, harness leather has a higher oil and wax content. In the tanning process, which is an oil tanning process where the skin is converted into leather, the leather is made to be more robust and more water resistant than other types of saddlery leather. The downside is that the leather will probably take on less character over time. So my guess is that this is also just a top grain leather. There is certainly finishing that's going on post-production to get that patina look on the leather once it's on the case. Now, my guess is that there's probably just some oil finishing that's happening once the case is applied onto the plastic inner liner. But we'll really never know, since this case is also made in China. As green as it is, I wonder about the fair labor practices used in the manufacturing of this case. Just want to apply the same logic. The Timberland case snaps in the most naturally out of the four cases. The open design allows you to get it in and out very easily, as well as plenty of access to all of the different features here. The window for the camera and flash are not as clean and perfectly proportioned as on the iPhone. There's no doubt to me that the red and brown leather tones in this leather case are much more attractive than the Apple case. The patina is a bit affected, but I like the branding on it, and overall it's a better choice, especially considering that this case on Amazon right now is 16 bucks. Next up is the J.Crew case, and true to the brand, it has a sort of lower level preppy look to it. Can't really think of a movie character to associate with it, maybe The Graduate. At any rate, I like the tastefully small branding of the J.Crew New York insignia down at the bottom of the case. I also like the natural variety of tones and distressed leather look of this case, although I'm sure that given how thin this case feels and the distressed leather look that this is no better than the top grain leather. It also shares the more open design with the Timberland as well as the Waxhaws. Where it fails compared to both the Apple and the Timberland is the overall quality of construction. The window for the camera and the flash is very sloppily cut, and the plastic isn't even. You also have a very cheap pseudo-suede liner inside the case that's frayed and already starting to pill. This case retails for $38, and so the overall lower level of quality of construction doesn't make up for the interesting leather, in my opinion. The J.Crew case has the most pronounced lip onto the case out of all of the cases. That means that it has a very positive feel snapping in, but it's basically kind of mechanical function of the plastic. It does pop out pretty easily, pretty naturally. Or it should. What's going on here? There you go. Pop. The leather has a weathered look, but I'm afraid that it would actually end up falling apart over time, not aging more. Lastly, we have the Waxhaws case. Honestly, I don't know if it's Waxhaws, you tell me. This case is the most ambitious out of the bunch, and also the most pretentious. It has a large, obnoxious branding in all caps. Seriously, this brand could probably go on a boot and it would still appear large. I don't know why it's so big. The upside is that the remaining quarter of the case is made in Italian full-grain vegetable tan belting leather. Ooh, that was a mouthful. Vegetable tan leather is tanned with natural and organic vegetable substances. It's a long process, taking months at a time, and is used often with leathers used for carving or stamping. This kind of leather is going to preserve the grains of the top grain leather more perfectly, and it's also going to allow the leather to take on the most character over time. It's also going to be the most susceptible to damage if it's scraped or if it gets wet. There's not really any question in my mind that this oil tanned full grain leather is the most beautiful out of all of the cases here. It also is the most supple in the hand and the softest. It fairly opulently wraps around the sides of the case with lots of texture and lots of folds. Might be business in back, but it's a big dork party in front. They decided to put a big cartoon on the inside of the case, which is just a plastic case. There's no sort of rubberized substance put on top. I think that's a big fail. That said, the quality of construction of the Waxhaws is on par or better with any of the cases in this comparison. Take, for example, the glue that's uniting the leather with the edges of the case. Compare it here to the Timberland. The Timberland's glue is fat and uneven. It's basically probably done by someone who's less skilled than whoever manufactured this Waxhaws case. Now, the company is based out of Michigan. The leather is from Italy. But where is the case actually made? That's not really clear from the website. This case is also the most expensive of the bunch, retailing at $48, not including shipping. Oh yeah, this is belting leather. I think that borders on a marketing talking point. Belting leather was used in early industrial machines as pulleys, and so it's not really a selling point for a modern iPhone case. But it's forgivable because the leather is so dang nice. The Waxhaws case almost kind of slinkily slips in on the phone. It really doesn't pop. In fact, the case is almost flush with the phone's face. In a way that's very attractive, but it also makes me a little nervous because this thing really comes out easily. I'm almost afraid the phone would fall out upon a hard impact. As far as all the openings for the inputs and buttons and stuff, it's very nice and very clean, and there's room for everything. So is there any winner in this comparison? I would say my first choice would be the affordable Timberland. It seems to have the best rounded value to quality factor out of these 4 cases. If I wanted to spend the money, I would skip the Apple and go with the Waxhaws. The leather quality is definitely the best out of the Waxhaws, and although it's a little pretentious, so is the Apple case. The J.Crew case, unfortunately, is the big fail in this comparison because the overall actual quality of the case, although these all could have possibly been made in China, the J.Crew by far is the least nicely constructed.
This is the in-case iPhone case. I left it out because it's very common and kind of boring in my opinion. This is the Masterpiece iPhone case. It's Japanese and $100 for all you ballers. This is the Fleet Focus case. It's canvas and preppy. Pretty cool, but not all leather. Here's a T8 Storm. This is a wallet case that I really like, but it isn't just a simple snap-on.
Thanks very much for watching this video, and please subscribe if you want to see more in-depth comparisons and reviews.